Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing okay and that you're doing absolutely fantastic. Don't forget to subscribe to The Modern Investor as well as Money Rules, as I make a new video every single day. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I know, believe me, this all seems quite confusing or maybe even a little weird. The cryptocurrency market, the word tumultuous doesn't really begin to describe the last couple of months. There are so many things happening at the exact same time. We have either really good days or desperately depressing days recently within the cryptocurrency market. There's a general air or idea that cryptocurrency prices and that the cryptocurrency market are faring just fine. Everything's okay. We've had indications or numbers or writings or analytical whatever that the cryptocurrency market appears to be following the 2020 trajectory. The cryptocurrency market looks like it's following the 2017 pathways. The cryptocurrency market is mimicking the 2014 this and the 2013 this. But the actual truth is no one knows. Nobody knows what the heck is happening except for currently the people in power. The normal cryptocurrency market, I'm going to tell you truthfully, as we've been going over for a while, I indicated this several times here and on Twitter. I said no one wants to talk about it, but the cryptocurrency market really needs a gigantic pump upwards, or there's going to be, the negative sentiment is going to weigh heavy because, as I've been here through many other cycles, historically, the beginning of the year, we see a push up in prices. By the time we get to spring, things are usually in full swing. I didn't mean to rhyme there. Summertime is sometimes a little bit lull, sometimes. It's not dramatically down. We have a lot of sideways action. Some days it goes up by 4%, some days it's down by 6%. But there's a general optimism rising within the air. By the time we get to autumn, we were always quoted for, and I don't know why, we were always quoted September. It's supposed to be the time when everyone gets back from vacation, back from holiday. And when people go back to the stock market in September, and therefore markets begin to move back up. And then by the time that we get to around winter in the northern hemisphere, this is when we have like the final hurrah. We have had countless discussions and have heard a lot from different analysts who believe that this market cycle is the same as this one, is the same as that one, is the same as that one, is the same as that one, and it's just not true. We have had far too much going on surrounding interest rates and the debt and the deficit and the brand new world events that are seemingly popping up every 24 hours. It is actually exhausting. If you are not exhausted by all of this, I think you might need to go have a chat with someone, because there's far too much taking place all the time, and our market is right in the center of all of it. So, if you weren't here at the beginning of June, and I dare say the end of May, the news and the analysis that we had been receiving is that by the time we get to the beginning of July, to the middle of July, we would see this uproarious movement of cryptocurrency prices, and we would see Ethereum hitting 4,000, and we'd see Bitcoin going to 130 to 150,000. by the time, so I told you all before, it wasn't a joke. Not that it should have been a joke, but I think a lot of times if I say something, people think I'm being dramatic. This has been happening my entire life. No, my friends, I'm telling you just the actual honest truth. Unless we get some kind of like massive reversal. End of July, early August, looking at a $5,000 Ether. $4, $5, $6 XRP as it stands right now. July is meant to be, we're here. We are here. July is meant to be the month where we hear about the most or a large amount of altcoin ETF approvals happening. There's a lot for XRP. There's, I think, a couple with Bitcoin and Ethereum bundled together. There's some Solana ones. I think the Cardano one is also, well, Cardanos are also in July. If we get news over the course of July that all of these ETFs have been approved, we should see prices rising quite dramatically. If we get news that all of them have been rejected, and I mean that also includes the BlackRock, Fidelity trying to switch their Ethereum ETOvers just to have the word staking, the odds of that I feel are very low, especially as we keep getting news about this ultra awesome new SEC who's willing to do everything. But there needs to be a shift in the market, but a lot of the news that we've been getting since January has been dragging down the market, and this is where the reversal needs to come from. So, I think a lot of figureheads within the space, the Michael Saylors, the Nova Gratzes, the Kathy Woodses, a lot of these people are now coming forward trying to like quell or calm fears about the market. And this is mainly because we are normally moving up dramatically right now. A friend of mine is really into altcoins. He has positions in many different coins, but he has like really strong altcoins. I won't tell you which ones. I don't want to throw favor on any coins. He's a big chart guy. He likes looking at charts and seeing the past and kind of not predicting the future, but analysis, yada, yada, yada. And he sat there, we were talking, and he was like, it's weird that a lot of the, if not all of them, all of the altcoins are not even remotely close to their previous all-time highs. Irrespective of any news that we've gotten before, news that we're getting now, any usage of them, integration. He told me 5 different coins, and he's like, I don't get how they're not even like $1. Nonetheless, like $3 or $4. Like it's just a really weird market that we're currently in. In very, 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 very popular news, it says with just 450 Bitcoin mined daily, and public companies like his own aggressively acquiring Bitcoin, Michael Saylor argues that the supply-demand imbalance is driving inevitable price appreciation. So, backing it on up there, he's right. But also no, but also yes. I'll try to explain. With only that few Bitcoin being mined daily, we have had countless times where we have heard that the amount of Bitcoin being accumulated by the ETFs alone ranges anywhere from 300 to 800%. So do 450 times 8. That's the amount of Bitcoin being acquired daily. Buy the ETFs in the United States alone. That does not include the other 30 companies that we've heard from in the last few weeks who are also acquiring large amounts of Bitcoin. They're not accumulating 50 Bitcoin. They're buying $1 billion. They're buying $3.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. I said it before and I'll say it again. Something really weird is going on. Even weirder is the fact that prices haven't actually moved. I know you can show me the marges, you can show me the BARTs, you can show me this graph, you can show me this up, you can show me this down, you can show me this sideways, and this is happening because of this in the futures and the right. But at some point, I just assumed it's not even logic. It is literal supply and demand. We went over before, there was an analyst around March who said that because of the companies entering the space and the amount of purchases, he said we should be on average be seeing weekly movements of Bitcoin up by at least 3 to 5% weekly. That was the beginning of this year. Why, you might ask? He said mathematically, the cryptocurrency, nay, the Bitcoin market, for every $1 billion purchased, Bitcoin's price tends to rise by 3 to 5%. This, of course, sent a lot of energy and happiness into the space because we were hearing about Michael Saylor purchasing $3 billion on average on any given week. Then at some point when we saw cryptocurrency prices going down, people went, oh, maybe it's Bart Simpson, maybe it's the chart, maybe it's the futures, maybe. And I was like, okay. And then that turned into multiple other companies who told us that they were putting $1 billion here, $500 million here, $1.2 billion here. We just heard from Metaplanet, who told us, if you missed it, Metaplanet, that Metaplanet, the company who used to buy $3 million worth of Bitcoin, they're now going to purchase $5.4 billion worth of Bitcoin. Understand that these announcements of these purchases actually send ripples, if you will, through the entire space. It goes from, and if you will, the monetarily highest to the monetarily lowest. If you announce as a company that you are going to purchase $5.4 billion in the future, or even if you say next Tuesday, I'm buying $1 billion, there are other companies out there who then announce, okay, cool, we're going to also purchase $250,000, $100,000 worth of Bitcoin, $1.3 million worth of Bitcoin. It adds up as you'll understand my point. Then it starts to go to the other people who go, well, I need to put 10,000 into Bitcoin right now. I need to put 5,000 into Bitcoin. Then it goes down even further, and it goes to other people who say, I'm going to put 150. I want to have something. I got to have something in this market. That's over the course of a 24-hour period. And usually, once we got news of a purchase, the price would actually go down. That's when we had that guy who came forward and he told Michael Saylor basically to put his crypto where his mouth is. And said, why are you only buying OTC? Why are you only buying over the counter? Because if Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy had indeed been buying at market rate, we would have seen collectively from the ETFs, who are also buying billions, which also doesn't make any sense, because if you have $1 billion going into it and then prices go by 3 to 5%, these people are buying billions of dollars a day worth of Bitcoin from all the companies and all the ETFs, and yet the price is still kept on going down. So that then brought us to, you might remember as well, when the analytical company Arkham was like, can you guys tell us, talking to Michael Saylor, can you tell us exactly the addresses of all the Bitcoin that you have? If you weren't here, it's because Michael Saylor went on stage and said, no, that's nonsense. Why should we do that? This is why I said before, Michael Saylor is not a Bitcoin maximalist and he does not care about the space. He just has a lot of money and realizes that Bitcoin could make him a lot more money, like extra monies and all that other kinds of stuff. Arkham, I believe, last I saw in the news, found 87.5% of the Bitcoin that they said that they had actually purchased, so it was actually real. Because now there's a fear of paper Bitcoin going around. Yeah, of companies announcing that they're buying Bitcoin, but not divulging the actual wallet address, so therefore we don't know if they actually bought it or not. Simply announcing so that their stock price can go up, and this continues then in a loop. So we're caught in this kind of, it's not a tinfoil hat because it's what banks do. We're caught in this kind of tornado, if you will, of trying to figure out why we were told at the beginning of the year that prices were going to do A, B, and C by every analyst. Do you remember saying, I said, hey, it's a little weird that every single analyst has the exact same outcome. Everyone has the exact same answer at the exact same time for May, for April, for June, for July. Everyone has the same, everyone's coming to the same conclusion that prices are going to be here. And then it feels like we're kind of being kicked down the street because every single time that we get there, we don't actually get there. And then Michael Saylor keeps going to these conferences, not knocking what he's saying because he is correct. He goes to these conferences and talks about supply and demand and how Bitcoin is going to do this and how the price is going to eventually do that, but then the price doesn't end up doing it. So this made popular news because Michael Saylor essentially came forward and told everyone, once again, fear not, because things are, hold on, let me see if I can move this. Wait. I guess that's as far as it's going to go. Basically telling people that the good times are starting right now. Like right now. He also mentioned the growing political and institutional support. Yeah, this is a really big thing that a lot of people keep putting forward. They say the president is pro-crypto, the SEC is pro-crypto. We're getting all these things, and we keep getting told from these companies as well. This is one of the best parts. We keep getting told from these companies because of stable coins. Yeah, stable coins. That stable coins are also going to move up the price of the cryptocurrency market. Now, you might sit there confused and go, why would a stable coin rise the price of Bitcoin? If you thought that, that's because you're smart. The idea from the politicians and the Walmarts and the companies and the Amazons is that once we have stablecoin regulation, then people will properly get into crypto. And when you dig a bit further, it's actually that these companies, and Uber is a part of it as well. And if you haven't seen stablecoin news, because why would you have? There's a lot of companies who this year are trying to launch their own stablecoin, because they want you to use it, similar to Facebook coin. They want you to use it within their ecosystem and then give you discounts and basically trap you in their system, kind of like the buy now, pay later. Like you're attached to that company. You got to pay them back for the next 3 to 5 years. The idea is if you decide to use this company's stablecoin, you're going to be more loyal to them if you continue using their loyalty and their 15% off. You'll keep, within their ecosystem and basically paying them the additional fees for their coins that they say that they're trying to make easier for you as they circumvent other companies. And it's because they want everything to go into their pockets. Meanwhile, analysts believe that a wave of crypto ETF approvals could trigger what they're calling an ETF Summer. However, not all corporate crypto bets have paid off. GameStop's recent $513 million Bitcoin purchase failed to boost quarter one performance. Yeah, if you didn't see that, GameStop purchased $500 million worth of Bitcoin. They're currently in discussions to purchase another, I believe, billion or something like that. But their stock price actually fell, which is really weird because you don't usually see that at all. Stock prices tend to go up. But also, crypto prices didn't go up because all these people are choosing to buy OTC as opposed to actually on the market. So that's something. And yeah, there's that thing about ETF Summer. It is a very, logically, yes. If the ETF, if the SEC is as amazing and awesome as we keep hearing about, we will have an altcoin ETF Summer. I try not to get too optimistic, but also not too skeptical. So I try to go down the middle, but I have a really weird feeling. Give it the next 2 or 3 weeks, literally like over the course of July. If we start hearing a bunch of yays and yeses and thumbs up, we're going to have a really insane summer, like bull summer. But something feels off to me, and I don't know exactly what it is. I'm hoping that I'm wrong, as I don't know the SEC. I'm not talking to these people. But I think we need to start hearing some yeses, because the last 15 ETF applications have been kicked down the road even further once again. We've been told we need more time to deliberate. And it's like, well, it's the same exact paperwork from the other company, just with a new coin's name. What exactly do you need more of? Michael Saylor has dismissed people's fears of another crypto market winter by saying that Bitcoin's trajectory is now locked, and that Bitcoin is locked going towards $1 million due to its accelerating adoption and limited supply. That sounds wonderful. It actually sounds spectacular. But you know what would have made a lot more sense? Is if after purchasing about $50 to $100 billion worth of Bitcoin since last November, that we actually saw that reflected in Bitcoin's price. That would have been wonderful. Do you remember? Yeah, you must remember. Earlier in the year, when all the analysts were like, by the time we get to summer, we're going to have a $500,000 Bitcoin. I would like to assume that a lot of what they were saying reflected around the idea of these companies are getting in, everyone's buying Bitcoin, they're going to be buying spot, therefore prices will go up. If all these people are actually buying up all this Bitcoin, even from a ground rumbling perspective, prices would have gone a lot higher. Hear me out here. Years ago, it didn't take a lot to move cryptocurrency prices. We have a lot more liquidity now, and I understand that we need a lot more money to actually move prices up. But if we're getting indications daily and news that those purchases are actually happening, what's wrong with the cryptocurrency market then? You want some more logic? Isn't it weird that Cardano's not at like $3 or $4? Isn't the United States also accumulating XRP and Cardano as part of their reserve? Doesn't it seem a bit doesn't something seem off to anyone? I know it does to my other friends, my other investors who I talk to. Something feels incredibly off. I've been saying it for weeks now. It can't just be me, but something is... It feels like... I don't even know. I was thinking of an ice cream cone, maybe because it's summer. I don't know what it is. Something feels incredibly odd. There have been a lot of analysts. I think it's Kyung-ju, J-U. Was him and one other person were recently on Twitter talking about if prices don't move upward above this level, we might be back in, the crypto winter again. As prices moved up early in 2024, there might be some kind of a red flag or something. But it's also, that also does then make a lot of sense. But also then we're also still getting all these purchases. If we didn't get any purchases, if we didn't have any companies, if we didn't have a multitude daily announcing these blah, 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 that'd make a bit more sense. But then will prices actually go up with the ETFs? Are we going to hear something else absolutely insane within the news over the next 24 hours? Because we keep hearing crazy stuff. And of course, it's affecting the cryptocurrency market. There are rumors. I don't know if you saw this one. There are rumors that the Fed is allegedly possibly going to thinking of maybe might do in July a rate cut. And I saw it on, I think, Wall Street Journal and some other website, and I was like, that feels familiar as well. Because we heard in January from the Wall Street Journal, from Bloomberg, from Morning Sun, that they were all, we were expecting 3 or 4 different rate cuts from the Fed this year. And by the time we get to the point when we should have had the 3rd rate cut, we had news, if you missed it, about a week ago from Jerome Powell, who was like, no, there will be no rate cuts until at least September. And then he said, at least then, no, we're not even thinking of a rate cut. And now there's rumors that there's going to be a rate cut, but we also heard those rumors sometime in July. Something feels incredibly off, like not slightly off, like it's completely off kilter. In a recent Bloomberg interview, Saylor confidently stated, and I quote, "Winter is not coming back." And he argued that Bitcoin reached a point where the only logical direction is upward. Well, that's really funny because we keep having those days where prices go down by 4% after we hear that a company has announced that they're going to be purchasing $2.3 billion worth of Bitcoin. If we weren't hearing all of these companies, it wouldn't seem too out of line for me or with me in some sort of way. I wonder if these companies, I know the answer. The answer is no. If these companies are going to start buying spot, because we heard rumors before, it's always a rumor. We heard rumors before that companies, basically when OTC, over the counter, was completely dried up, we would start seeing these companies rushing to buy more, and they'd be forced to buy more on Coinbase and buy spot on Binance, and they'd be buying it from Gemini. But it's also like, when is that going to actually happen? If the amount of Bitcoin that they say is being purchased, the OTC market should have dried up a long time ago, if not by right now, as we've been going over those numbers since last summer. If these companies do continue to buy Bitcoin, wait, hold on. September, October, November, just off of the numbers that they've told us, if you somehow missed it as well, Metaplanet, that Metaplanet again, they announced that I think they have 10,000 Bitcoin, 8,000, it was 8888, whatever the fudge the number was. By the end of this year, they want 100,000 Bitcoin. I know that's yes. See, that's where the number 5.4 billion comes in. But then you also look at the numbers and you go, well, the OTC markets only have 140,000 Bitcoin left. So if they end up buying 90,000, that's 50,000 left. MicroStrategy has 600,000 Bitcoin, and they're trying to get to 1 million by the end of this year as well. BlackRock has 600,000, and they're also clearly trying to get to 1 million as well. Well, that's just 3 companies. What about the other 30 who we've heard from? What about the other 8 ETFs within the United States and the presumably more that we're also going to get? What about the ETFs in Canada, the ETFs across Europe, across Asia? Oh, wait, we're also forgetting about the other wealthy families who are also just buying on crypto exchanges. Where is the $300,000 Bitcoin? Where's the $500,000 Bitcoin? Listen, these are questions that you have to ask because we've gone through other weird cycles before. This is not the first weird one, but this is by far the weirdest. We've never had, and you need to be able to like really imagine taking like a grain of rice. That's the interest in the cryptocurrency market. Now give me 500 more grains of rice. That's where we were like 2 years ago. The institutions were already here. Don't make any kind of mistake. The attention that we have being paid to us now, every company Years ago, yeah, we're thinking of buying 10 Bitcoin. We might put $500,000 into it. We're getting billions of dollars now. Dump around 30,000 more grains of rice. That's the current attention that we have being paid to the space. You mean to tell me that after all this attention, all this money, all this corporatization, all these ETFs, all this buying, remember the numbers. The amount of Bitcoin on crypto exchanges hasn't been this low since 2018. The amount of Ether on exchanges hasn't been this low since the coin was released. Yeah, 2015. Don't forget those numbers. What's going on with prices? It makes logical sense that a world event might cause our market to drop by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%. However, the money flowing in should immediately counteract that within a good 12-hour period. Think about it. You have $100 billion flowing into a market, and I see a lot of times they'll talk about $800 million left the crypto market as the blah 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 happened and so, and it's like, well, that's cool, but 800 million is not 100 billion. Well, this was very popular, as you might have imagined. We'll see what happens. I told you all before, by the time we get to July, something has to dramatically change. It's not meant to like whatever, is literally meant to make you think, because we collectively, we hear so much that it's just these people in the market. No, we're also here. So we need to actually see results as well for our investments, or people will leave the market. While crypto's fantastic and awesome and amazing, there are other things that will get you really good returns on your money. It's not just crypto. So I'm waiting to see if Michael Saylor, like I understand greed, but this is on another level. If you really want to not have to tell people that crypto winter is over or crypto winter isn't coming back, when you do one of your $2 billion purchases, do them spot. Show people exactly how much money you have, how much strength you have, how much weight you have floating around in this market. But the fear ends up being is that these people want all the Bitcoin. This is the greed that I'm talking about. And I hope you're able to actually understand what I mean. Can you imagine having $30 billion? Can you imagine being a billionaire, having $30 billion, and you refuse to do something that would make other people richer because you're afraid of not having $31 billion? If you want to show the actual strength and power of this market and how resilient Bitcoin is, make a purchase every time Bitcoin's price dips. You have the money. You're raising billions of dollars all the time to buy this over the counter. Well, this has by far been the weirdest cycle that we've ever had. I don't think that it's going to end anytime soon. I'm just expecting more weirdness. Because everyone keeps talking about these numbers and where things are going to go. I think by the time we get to $250,000 Bitcoin, I think a lot of my conviction will flow back. But I've been in this market for a really long time, and I can usually smell the letters B and the letter S floating around a lot of times, and someone has to prove something at some point, because people will leave the market. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.